What's going on, guys? Welcome to Barking for Balance, the podcast where we talk about dogs, but we can also talk about whatever it is that is meant to teach, inspire, and entertain. Just to prove that point, today we are going to talk about my last name. Yeah, I know, pretty weird, right? My last name is actually pretty interesting, and we're going to get into that in a second. I'm also going to talk about a client. Actually, I want to dedicate this episode to a client who has busted her ass and not only busted her ass to get her dogs, technically it was just one, but it was basically both of her dogs into a more stable situation, a safe situation, a healthy situation. And the reason why I say she busted her ass was because she worked on herself. This was about breaking barriers and challenging herself. And this was tough. This is almost like not even dog related. So, but it was based for dogs. So it's kind of like, it's pretty much what I do. I mean, if you're joining us for the first time, my name is Pat. I'm the Packman. And what I do is I am a dog behavior and rehabilitation specialist for Packman to the Rescue, Canine Solutions and Coaching. And what we do is we train people, not dogs. That's right. We train people, not dogs, because at the end of the day, it's people that matter. It's about teaching people what it is that they need to know about the brain of a dog, to understand dog communication, how to communicate back to a dog. That's really the driving force to making a dog happy, fulfilled, and well behaved. And that's our motto. And quite frankly, that's what I feel everybody should want, is to be well trained, to be a well trained dog owner, a well trained dog lover, and then make a dog not well trained, but make a dog happy, fulfilled, and well behaved. And that's what we do. If you like more information, write down some comments and we could talk about that further. But yeah, I want to dedicate this episode to her because, she didn't think she could do it, and we're going to talk about how we are actually stronger than we think oftentimes. And I put myself in that category, and she epitomizes this. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and her situation. And we're also going to talk about her dog situation as well. I mean, she had a dog aggressive pug. Yeah, believe it or not, a dog aggressive pug. And then she decided to bring another pug into her household, and it was chaos. So she busted her ass. And again, this was more human related. And we're going to get to that in a second about what that all means. But it's a happy ending. And she sends me constant videos and pictures. And if you guys want to see some of those, go on our social media page on Facebook and Instagram. You can see some of those videos and those pictures. We gladly repost them and share them, because, she deserves it. So she worked hard, and now, the payoff is there. So like I said, it's about training people, not training dogs. And here exactly is the results that we're after. So yeah, we're stronger than we think, but before we get to that, let's have a little fun first. And let's talk about my last name. I know, let me put myself on the line here right off the bat. Like I said, Barking for Balance, we talk about anything and everything, not just dogs. But my last name, for those of you guys that don't know my last name is Batita. It is full Sicilian. E io parlo siciliano ogni pezzudo. Yes, if you're joining us for the first time, now you know who I am. And also, you know that I speak Sicilian. That's right. Parlo siciliano, bello, bello. Yeah, I grew up in Sicily, lived there from the age of 10 to 17, and I love speaking Sicilian. So I'm going to be throwing it out there. But my last name is Batita, full-blooded Sicilian. Both parents, all my entire generation, I'm full-blooded Sicilian, born here in America, but lived there for 7 years from the age of 10 to 17. And Batita is a very popular last name there, but when it comes to being in America, it has a whole different way of looking. So, in case you don't know how it spells, like it is, get a piece of paper so you could write this down, so you could have some fun with it as well. It is spelled B as in boy, U, T as in Tom, T as in Tom, I, T as in Tom, T as in Tom, A. I'll repeat it: B as in boy, U, T as in Tom, T as in Tom, I, T as in Tom, T as in Tom, A. So here's a little bit of game for you. Let's have a little fun. There are two words that are embedded in my last name. And if you are very sensitive, you may not appreciate this game, but whatever. Se non ti piace, te va quick. And it's all good. We're going to have some fun. So what are the two words embedded in my last name? I mean, you guys are probably smart. You could pick it up pretty quick. And if you guessed, I'll give you a couple more seconds. Contiamo, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, boom. Or what's the words? The words are butt, B-U-T-T. Yeah. And the other word is, yeah, if you said tit, that is exactly right. T-I-T, B-U-T-T, T-I-T. Right. Yeah, that's my last name. Butt and tit. Right. Now, I just want to preface the fact that my first name is also Pat. Now, if you don't understand what that means, Pat Butt Tit, all I needed was a middle initial of A, and I would have the perfect porn star name. I'm not sure. Maybe that's my destiny. No, we're not going down there. No, I was Zamadio. Zamadio. No, no, no. We're not going down that road. But I have the perfect porn star name. All these games of, take your first pet and the street you were born on, or the color of your underwear, and the month of your birthday, whatever the hell this. Mine is natural. Pat Batita, but Tita. All I need was a middle initial of A, and I'd be set. So yeah, that's my name. So yeah, as you could understand, as you could imagine, I was teased quite a bit when I came to America for that, and I never even picked up on it. I was like, What's the big deal?" But yeah, kids have a cruel sense of humor, and yeah, button tits. That's me. A button tits. All right. I don't even know where to take it from here, but that's just a little bit of fun for you. Buttitta, button tits. First name Pat. Don't have a middle initial. There's a little secret for you. Don't have a middle initial, but I needed a middle initial of A, and porn star name, natural. There you go. So anyway, like I said, barking for balance. What we teach, we talk about anything that's meant to teach, inspire, and entertain, but it's not just dog related. Parliamo di ciò che è, tutte che tenaggine, tutte che vogliamo, not divertiamo. We have fun. So anyway, so let's talk about one of my clients. Let's talk a little bit about how she was not in the right state of mind before we started this off, because this is really where everything went down the wrong path. Tutte cose ero pesciata di sta maniera per questo motivo. So everything that went down the wrong path for a bunch of different reasons. For those of you guys that have been watching this podcast for a while, you know that I talk about God all the time, faith and patience. That's the center of my world. Everything I do is based on faith and patience, and I put everything on God's shoulders. And so far, I've not been disappointed. Mwah, ringraziamo il Signore. God has been taking care of me based on those two principles of faith and patience. And if you'd like to know more about what that means, please let me know. Write some comments, and we'll talk about that. But I'll share some of my insight about that. But God will make us face some things that, first of all, God will never make us face things that we can't handle. So for those people that oftentimes find themselves in a difficult situation, and listen, I'm in the middle of that boat too. And Frida is definitely, part of this as well. She has, she had, like I said, a dog aggressive pug. She decided to get another dog into her family, and it was just a train wreck. Went after him, and Bo is the dog. Went after Rocco, who was the new addition to the family. Went after him. Bo was the black pug, and I'm sorry, Bo was a beige pug, the traditional beige color, and Rocco was a black pug. So Bo went after Rocco, and it was just a shit show. So tutte se cacava, and everybody was scared, and it was just horrible, and it was heartbreaking too, because they were actually on the verge of having to bring Rocco back. But of course, she was smart enough to want to look for help. And I believe she actually, had contacted other people while she was contacting me, and then she chose to go with me. How could she not? I mean, come on, you know what I'm saying? Shh. Uh, and also, in case you haven't watched this podcast, I'm very humble. But but yeah, so she knew she needed help, and we worked hard, but she because of the distance, I couldn't actually go to her house. I mean, I could, but it would just been tremendously expensive, and I'm not sure that it would have been convenient for either one of us. So we decided to go with our virtual program. And this is a typical case as to why our virtual program is so successful and so efficient, is because it's not only just a fraction of the cost of in-person sessions, but it works out better for a variety of different reasons. First of all, because when we walk into people's houses as behaviorists or trainers or whatever, dogs tend to look to us for that direction and that leadership, and we want them to look to the dog owners. I'm sorry, dog owners also would need to do and be the same way that I would be when I'm walking to that house, because we actually had one session in person with Frida, and just to kind of she wanted to, for me to meet the dogs in person. So we had one session in person, and she saw how things were when I was there. But when I was gone, it was a different story. So they had to, master those techniques, and they had to master those emotions and those states of mind, because then Bo was looking to me, and that's not going to be helpful when I'm not there. So we need to, that's why I'll say it again. It's about training people, not training dogs, because, listen, I could show off all I want, but at the end of the day, what is that going to do for the dog owners who are left holding the bag with nothing to do? Non sanno ciò che hanno a fare, kid. Non solo the owners and the dogs, non sanno ciò che hanno a fare. So they need to know, dog and dog owners need to know what it is that they're supposed to do. And so, we did everything from the virtual platform going forward, and it was just working out perfectly. And so, Bo already had these aggressive issues. Bo already had these aggressive tendencies. They brought this new dog home, and this is something typical that happens with dog aggressive cases. Go, "O kana seguta lavo and people blame the new dog oftentimes. But the reality is that the old dog is the one that already had the problem. Like, the problem was already there. Bo was already dog aggressive. Bo was already dominant. And I'm not even going to say that he was dog aggressive, if more like he was dominant. And the reason why he was dominant is always the same. So it's a is because the owners were spoiling him. They didn't establish directions, boundaries, and limits. Frida in particular was just terrified. She was a very scared type person, very anxious, nervous person. Emphasize on was all those emotions. And obviously the dog is going to feed off of that, and Bo picked up on it like any dog would, and he took over. So he owned the house. Like, they let him do whatever he wants. So now he was the only dog in the household, but we bring this new dog in, and he's like, "Whoa, hold on." It's like, "I'm the boss. You got to do what I say." And that's how it started. So, and I see this oftentimes, is that people blame like a new dog that they're bringing in. It has nothing to do with the new dog. It's the new dog revealed that there was a problem. Your problem was already there. Your problem was already there. This new dog just showed you what the problem was and opened up your eyes to realizing that you had a problem. O problema la viva tá dá para look. People sometimes don't open up their eyes, don't even want to admit that there's a problem. And then something like this happens, and hey, you got no choice. Now you got to realize that there's a problem. So you got to deal with it. So like I said, she was a very fearful person. And when we first started this whole process, it was hard for me too, because, as you guys already probably know, yeah, I'm stubborn, and I want do things done my way. But she, especially on the virtual platform, because we're over the computer, like I would tell her to do certain things, and she would just fight me on it. She did not believe that what I expected to happen would happen, because, like, in my mind, no me devia outra coisa. In my mind, I would see beautiful things, but in her mind, she would see ugly things. And so her fear was just winning, and she didn't think she could do it. She didn't think that it was ever going to happen. She didn't think that it was ever going to be possible that these dogs could coexist. So guess what? Like many other people who feel hopeless, whose fear is more powerful than anything else, she started making arrangements. Will you take them? Will you this, and it broke her heart. I mean, she told me, I remember watching her when she was telling me, como que Anchieva, she would cry because she didn't want to give up on little Rocco. She loved him, and she didn't want to give him up, but she knew that it was for the best. It was for the right reasons. But you know, until she was able to break down that wall of fear, you have to knock down that wall of fear. And then all of a sudden, the miracle started to happen. And my job in all this was really just to continue to push and push and push until the wall comes down, which is exactly what I did. I would just keep challenging her and fighting her. She would fight back, and I would fight. Yeah, yeah, my head is hard. I'm Sicilian. I bang my head against the wall until the wall breaks, because I knew that we could do this. She just needed to know that she could do this. And so I would challenge her, and she would fight me. And and then she would blame the dogs. And then we would meet like the next session, and it was a woe is me. This is sucks. This isn't working. I'm like, really? Well, tell me. And of course, she never would do anything that I would tell her. And their fear was stronger. It was that simple. You know, so the reason why, again, was because we started Rocco off on the wrong foot. We started Rocco off by being spoiled, not establishing leadership. And she was at the bottom of the pile, especially her emotions were weak. Her leadership skills were gone. She wasn't establishing direction, boundaries, and limits. Forget about enforcing them. O cane diceva, io faccio tutto ciò che voglio. The dog would say, I do whatever I want. And that's exactly what's happening. But unfortunately, when it comes to dogs, that empowers them. So now this is the end result. So um, that's the reason why these problems happen. And if you guys have experience with that, if you've experienced bringing a new dog into your household and you've had that, would love to hear some of your stories regarding that. And it's a hard situation. Sometimes we don't want to admit that it's us. And unfortunately, that's the hardest part of my job. People blame the dogs all the time. They don't want to take responsibility until we show them. And some people, you just can't. They just won't accept responsibility. It's never their fault. It's always the dog's fault. So whatever. Anyway, we'll get to that in another podcast episode. So these people that think like that just aggravate the hell out of me. But let's talk about good stuff here. So like I said, I would challenge her. She would fight me back. And what I already knew, that these dogs were ready. They were ready to be together. But number one, I couldn't push too far. I had to take it in steps. I had to just gradually ease her into it until we finally broke down the wall. And when we brought them together, it was, it was still scary. There was, we did a process. I'm not going to bore you with details, but we use the crates, we use gates, we use leashes. This was all just to slowly bring Frida to a point where she wasn't afraid anymore, or at least less afraid. But every single time I would present a new challenge, it was just so much pushback, so much fight, and I had to get tough. I takes a lot of dura. I had to I had to be, tough and forceful to get her to get it done. I was like, no, Frida, get it done now, and that's really what I had to do, to just challenge her, to push her past her own wall of fear. And, it took some time. It took some effort. It took a little bit of patience, a lot of patience. Aveva pazienza, Maria, bella madre. But those times she would just aggravate the crap out of me. And I hope she's watching this, because yes, you did aggravate the crap out of me so many times, but you did a great job. I'm proud of you, Frida. But if all my clients were that dedicated and that committed, and not just making their dogs happy, fulfilled, and well behaved, and making their packs, their pack, healthy and safe, but her own well-being, like, again, she transformed herself because she's no longer fearful. You know what I mean? She's a pack leader, and she admitted it. She sent me a text message one time, and she's like, you made me into a pack leader. I was like, that's the goal, but it's on you. You got to make that happen. And she did. And God bless her soul. But, unfortunately, like, she was one of those people that didn't think that she could handle it. She didn't think that she could do it all on her own. And like I always say, God will make us face sometimes God will make us face, and this is my personal belief. I mean, I don't know if Rita believes in God, or if anybody of you guys believe in God, but this is what I truly believe, and I put all my experiences all my life on that platform. It's all about God as far as I'm concerned, because I know that God will make us he will make us face oftentimes more than we can handle, but he's also going to make a way to get out or to get through it. You know what I mean? So like sometimes, and I mean, I've experienced this plenty of times before, is not feeling that I'm strong enough, that I haven't I'm not capable of doing certain things. The bottom line is that we're all stronger than we think, myself included. Frida definitely stronger than she even thought. you know um you know she hadn't discovered everything that was within her. But like many of us, we never will discover that unless we just face pressure that we've never faced before. And the reality is that if God allows that, whatever it is, to come into our lives, to enter our lives, guess what? We can handle it. You know what I mean? I know that for a fact now. And that's one of the reasons why, I kept working hard with Frida and pushing her and pushing her and pushing her, because I knew that she could handle it, but she didn't know that yet. So, my job was to make her understand and make her learn that she did not have to be fearful. She could be a pack leader, but she had to bust down that wall of fear. And unfortunately, for many people, myself included, sometimes that wall of fear is just all that exists, and that's all we see. And then all of a sudden God puts us in a situation that's just really scary, that is just, it's impossible, and all we see is the wall of fear. So it's easier to just walk away from the wall than blast through that wall. And I challenge you guys, no matter what it is, to do exactly that. Don't let that wall of fear, beat you. Fear is tough. And listen, I know that more than anybody. I mean, you, for guys that don't know, I was afraid of dogs till I was 28 years old. I lived in fear and doubt and insecurity for most of my life. And if you guys want to know more about that, I'll be happy to share some details with regards to that. But it's hard, and no matter what anybody tells you, you gotta, gotta face your fears. Vai te oscuro. People that don't get it. It's not that simple. If you just say a word, it's not that magical. You know what I'm saying? It's not the movies where you've got to face your fears. Okay, here, it's not that simple. But a lot of times, at least for me, and I'm sure that if you guys look back, you could see it as well. If you look back at times when you didn't think that you could do something or that you could handle something, and all of a sudden you did. And for me personally, that's really what I do um to face my fears or doubts, not necessarily just fears, but also doubts, such as a case with like Frida, who, that's a case that honestly a lot of people probably would have thrown in the towel, be like, listen, she doesn't want to do it, then, whatever, just give the dog up. And unfortunately, there's a lot of dog trainers that fall into that category. Just give the dog up. You can't handle this, because they're not there to teach a person. They're not there to empower a person, to inspire a person, to motivate a person. They're there to train the dog. You train the dog, then the person falls behind, and that person, if you train her and give her the motivation and the power, then that dog is fine. And not just that dog, but every other dog. So it's important to understand that. But remember, it's about training people, not training dogs. I digress all the time, because listen, that's my credo. That's what I live by. That's why I do this for a living. But when it comes to, like I said, when I look back personally, and like I see a case like this, it would have been easy for me just to walk away, because, well, you know what, it's not going to happen. I'm not wasting my time. Whatever the case may be. But that's important, because that kind of like made me and helped me grow into a better dog behaviorist, into a better person, because I learned so much about challenging somebody else, about fighting through that fear for somebody else, not just for myself. And helping somebody blast through that wall made me feel so much better, so much more confident, so much more assertive, that I could do this for more and more people. And that's really, at the end of the day, why I wake up in the morning, because again, not everybody's going to be in the Frida category where they're going to be able to do it or willing to do it. But you can't win them all. You just win the ones you could win, and the other ones, it is what it is. So, like I said, when you look back in certain situations that you didn't think that you could get through, and you do, that motivates you to do even more. Like when it comes to like dogs, I always tell my clients that get a difficult dog, when a difficult dog comes into their lives, is that's a challenge, and a challenge is a great thing, because it allows us to grow our dog knowledge. It allows us to become better dog owners, better dog lovers. So why not embrace it that way, as opposed to looking at, well, this dog sucks. And some people are just going to do that because they can't face the challenge. They don't want to grow themselves. They don't want to get better. They're just whatever. They're happy where they are. And you stay where you are. What do you want? But those are opportunities, and they're opportunities to be better, to learn more. And that's what I tell people. Oh, I had dogs my whole life, and this and that. And listen, that doesn't matter. Those dogs were easy, great. This dog is testing your knowledge. This particular dog is saying, listen, I'm not like those other dogs. You need to learn what I require if you want to earn my trust and respect. Now, again, some people just don't give a rat's ass. Some people, they care, and they're going to fight. And those are the people that I love. I love the fighters. I want them to fight, because that's how we save the dog population, is by learning what a dog truly needs. If we get easy cases, it's never going to happen that way. And, Cesar Millan always says, and for those guys that don't know, that's exactly how I learned everything I know, is from watching the Dog Whisperer TV show, and reading Cesar Millan's book. Cesar Millan is what gave me everything, all the knowledge base, and he gave me this career path. So, he always said is you don't get the dog you want, you get the dog you need. And in my particular case, that got me on this path of being the Pac-Man, the dog behavior specialist, behavior and rehabilitation specialist, was because of my pit bull Socks. My Socks was a tremendously difficult dog. But when I look back, when I decided that I wanted to get a pit bull and a bad one and rehabilitate him, somehow, again, God has a plan. God knows what he's doing. And so when I went out looking for my pit bull, the pit bulls that I found were just easy cases. They never would have challenged me to become this. And somehow, one way or another, they all fell through. And some of the reasons and some of the circumstances for those dogs falling through were just like ridiculous. And I'm like, how? What the hell? And then I landed on Socks, and Socks was challenging. And if you want to know more, let me know. We'll talk about that further. But Socks was challenging, and but he pushed me. He pushed me past my comfort zone, and he pushed me into this whole world. Because if I had not been challenged by him, I never would have uncovered this passion, this skill set, this desire. Um, I never would have discovered it. And God knew that, those cases would never have done it. And I would still be stuck being a financial advisor. Since I was, for 16 years, I was a financial advisor, and I would still be that, you know, if it weren't for being challenged by a pit bull, a black pit bull named Socks. And so that was God's plan. O Senhor sabe que do que fa. God knows what he's doing. See, Italians, we do like this all the time. Yeah, we do like this. Okay, o Senhor sabe. If you guys are Italian, you know that this happens a lot. But yeah, so challenges are important. My issues with Socks were bad, and it was difficult to deal with. And the challenges also came after, because of Socks, when I decided that I was going to leave the financial services world after 16 years and embark on this journey of being a dog behavior specialist, behavior and rehabilitation specialist. I don't know why I leave that word out sometimes. I mean, it's just shorter. I don't know. But dog behavior and rehabilitation specialist, and create a business, Pac-Man to the rescue, canine solutions and coaching, for the purpose of, helping other dog owners help their dogs. Didn't start off with that way. It started off just, training dogs and all that kind of stuff. And then it evolved throughout the years. But, the challenge of leaving a world that's all I knew and joining a world where I had no experience, no anything. I had no contacts. I had no reputation. It was, Benedito Sanchez. But that was scary. I mean, I was 40 years old, leaving a world that I was comfortable with, leaving the only thing that I ever knew for something that I didn't know. It was a scary thing. And, it was a challenge, and I knew God had a plan. O Senhor sabe que do que fa. O Senhor sabe. There's the hand again. But, and for those of you guys that are watching over here on the YouTube, and you see all this stuff, listen, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because I don't want you to miss these podcasts, but I also don't want you to miss all our instructional videos that we got coming out. We got a bunch of cool stuff happening. And if you're just listening to the podcast, you can, if you want to listen to the podcast without looking at this pretty face over here, then you could listen to the podcast on all the other podcast platforms that are the links are in the bio down here. So make sure you subscribe, because you want to take a look at all the cool instructional videos. You get to see Socks and Pepper, and you actually get to see Hannibal as well. So it's kind of cool. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. And yeah, but like I said, challenges, even just doing anything else. But like that was a big challenge. Now that I think about it, Jesus Christ. 40 years old. My God, I haven't thought about that in such a long time. I mean, that was 2014. We're now in the year 2021. It's been a while, but back, I mean, I haven't thought about it in a while, but I remember now, boy, was it scary. And I didn't know how it was going to turn out. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know we were going to end up, here and doing all this cool stuff and being where we are. But again, o Senhor sabe que do que fa. God knows what he's doing. So, you put your trust in him and let him run the show. You got to understand. And again, if you believe in God like I do, I believe, and I know for a fact, God designs us to be able to handle it. And God designed Frida to be able to handle it. She just didn't know it yet. She needed somebody to push her past that breaking point, much like I needed Socks to break me past that comfort zone, past that breaking point. God, like I said, God designed us to be able to handle stuff. So the one thing that we have to not do is we have to not speak the words or think the thoughts that are, I can't, it's too much, it's too hard, that kind of stuff. That stuff is going to beat us. It's going to beat us down. I know that it's happened to me before, that when I go into that mindset and I'm like, I'm defeating myself. It's also, and I learned this back in the day. I realized that I was also disagreeing with God. Like God was saying, "Here you go, let's get this done," and I'm like, "No, I can't do this. I can't." And I'm like, "Shit, shit." Oh, Señor Chico, no, tú que son tú saniente. I'm telling God, like, you don't know nothing. I know everything. God forbid. No, 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 no. That's not going to happen. I would base. I knew that that's what I was doing. I was disagreeing with God, and that's not acceptable. You know what I mean? So when you start to speak those words and you start to think those thoughts, that's what's going to happen, is you're beating yourself and you're also disagreeing with God. So that's a double whammy. So, you gotta understand that was a lesson that I learned. Thank God that I realized that. But, we, we, how could I put this? God provides us with ability power, with, we can get this done power. Um, but if we don't, I'm trying to explain it, figure out how I could put this. God gives us that you can do this power, right? But if we have an attitude and a mentality of I can't do this, then it's useless. That power is useless. It's almost like if you have a Lamborghini, but you don't fill it with gasoline and you just look at it. I mean, it's gorgeous, and a bella macchina, a Lamborghini Italiana. It's my favorite car, actually. By the way, I have. If you guys are watching me, I have a little mini one over here. I have them like all over the place anyway, but my screensaver on the computer. I'm a big Lamborghini fan, but it's useless if you don't have the mentality. Like if you don't get in there and drive it, then what's the point? So God provides us all this stuff, but if we don't use it, if we actually go against it, then it's useless power. You know, and a lot of times is what we do is, at least this is what I've done, and I think, again, going back to Frida, that's what she was doing, is she was only focusing on what she couldn't do. You know, I needed to teach her, which of course was lessons that I learned myself, was to focus on the steps that are needed to eventually do it. So what does that mean? What I mean is that, like myself, like I said, I do the same thing. I did used to, well, sometimes I do it too. I do the things, I focus on what needs to get done. So for example, like for me personally, with this YouTube situation, all this video and this podcasting and all this kind of stuff, what I was focusing in on was what I couldn't do. I couldn't do the video editing. I couldn't do the graphics. I couldn't even, talk. I mean, that was just weird. I had to, I felt uncomfortable, like just sitting in front of the camera and talking and demonstrating by myself. It was just weird. So I was focusing on that kind of stuff. And so what I started to change my mentality was I started focusing on the things that I could do. And so I would just demonstrate simple things, just talking in general, pretend like somebody was in front of me. I was also trying to focus on getting this channel, the YouTube channel and the podcast, to a point where it was like the whole world, no, you know, I can't do that. So I would only focus on the steps necessary to eventually do that. And so for me personally, when it came to like this video, and for those of you that don't know, I'm a technological moron. Tecnologia sono un stupido. I don't know anything about technology. So all this stuff is like foreign to me. But I focused on the quality. I focused on the quality of the audio, the quality of the video, the quality of the content, the quality of the thumbnails, the quality of just basically focus on the stuff that I could control, that would eventually lead us to be able to get the job done and achieve the goal that we were after when it comes to the channel. And the same thing applied to Frida, where I had to convince her to not focus on having peace and tranquility with her dogs. That was the end result. But to get there, we had to break down her fear. Because if in the beginning, even when I had her put them together with nothing, blocking them, with nothing to separate them, she was terrified. So we did it a little bit at a time, and we slowly got it in. And it was a graduation of a process that was just a slow evolution. But it at the end of the day, we achieved the goal. Now these dogs are like laying next to each other. They play with their toys, lay next to each other. They play with each other. It's a happy household. But when we focus on what we can't do, that's when we lose focus of all the stuff that we can do in order to be able to get to the point where we can do the stuff that maybe at that point you really can't. It doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means that you haven't been able to do it yet. So all you have to do is just fight through it until you get it done. But to get it done, you just got to take baby steps. Like I always tell my clients is focus on progress, not perfection. Everybody focus on perfection. If you focus on progress, you'll be happy. And you'll also eventually get to the point where you'll achieve that quote unquote perfection that you're after in the first place. Like when people want to walk their dogs, which again, Frida is in that category to teach her dogs how to walk properly on a leash, or just to fix in like any unwanted behavior. Um, you don't focus on fixing the whole thing. You focus on fixing small little areas that are really creating that problem. So like when it comes to, not being able to walk on a leash, we just take it in steps. We started off with just walking her for short periods of time inside the house in a controlled environment, focusing on the techniques that she had to adapt, the position of the leash, the position of the collar, until she was able to progress and move forward and then take it outside and then slowly increase it from there. And then before you know it, bam, walking is not an issue anymore, just like any unwanted behavior. So it boils down to just having that mentality of just, one step at a time. Focus on what you can do. Don't worry about what you can't do because eventually that's going to get done too. Look, it's it's okay to feel weak, intimidated, overwhelmed. It's okay. And it happens to me too. Sometimes with anything, it's just, I'm overwhelmed with all the projects and, my inability to get things done the way I want to get them done, my inability to know how to get them done, my inability to, to do what's necessary to get things done, or just feel intimidated by something or feeling weak or just whatever. Listen, it's okay to feel that way. God made us um creatures that have feelings, and it's okay to have those feelings of intimidation, fear, whatever it is. But just don't let those feelings defeat you. Don't let those feelings become so real that that becomes your reality. Perché quando diventano ghiaccio, finiamo tutte cose. When you get to that point when that becomes your reality and you are a defeated, overwhelmed person, and that's what you're focusing on, that's all you're saying, that's all your mind is at, then you're done. You lost. You have defeated yourself, and there is no moving past that point. So here's actually one of my little secrets when it comes. È un segreto, un churrera nudo, nudo segreto. Don't tell anybody. No, if it was a secret, I wouldn't be putting it on this platform, right? Like social media where you put all your little dirty secrets on there. I never understood that, but anyway, let's not get into that topic. But my little secret when it comes to è un segreto. Don't tell anybody. Just kidding. But when it comes to facing challenges, and we all face challenge, we're all gonna face challenge. We all have faced challenges. We face tough times, or things happen that we just don't understand. It's easy. We know we get discouraged. We throw a pity party. I mean, listen, I've done all this stuff myself. Stuff happens and it just throws me for a loop. It's a monkey wrench that I just not expect, and it's just just discouraging. You try something, it doesn't work. Unexpected circumstance, whatever the case may be. It's normal. We get discouraged. We throw ourselves a pity party. We quit. I mean, listen, I've been on that boat before when I was just wanting to quit. Sometimes I have. The secret that I learned when those particular cases, those particular circumstances, come around. And again, this is typical when it comes to Frida too, because again, she stumbled onto this situation. She was about to quit, throw in the towel, give her dog up, and just live with Bo being the way Bo was. And she would have missed out on Rocco. She would have missed out on her being this great. So I can't brag about that enough because it really makes me so happy. But the secret to dealing with those circumstances that can discourage us, or make us throw in the towel or quit or whatever, or throw a pity party or whatever the case may be, is we need to look at those situations more as not look at those situations as obstacles. If we look at those situations as obstacles, then that's what they become real, they become obstacles. But the way I started looking at these things were, I just look at them as stepping stones. I look at them as stepping stones that will lead me to eventually accomplish my goal, to fulfill my purpose, whatever the case may be. Those obstacles are stepping stones. And for me personally, that's exactly how it's been all along. There's been quite a few situations, again, using socks as a perfect example of that. He was a stepping stone that to brought me here. Um it was an obstacle, a massive obstacle, and here we are because of that obstacle. Then from there, I quit the financial services industry. Scary situation. I started off as just a one-man show, just going to people's homes and working with their dogs and showing off my skills and how wonderful I was. And now here we are, advancing, trying to educate the world, and through our virtual platform and these podcasts and our instructional videos, we've been all over the world. I mean, we have clients in Germany now because of our ability to share the knowledge. And that's really what it boils down to, because, we don't have to be next door to, I don't have to be like hands-on with the dog to share what's in this brain. No, there's a lot of information in here and a lot of knowledge and a lot of inspirational and motivational skills that, again, I would have been able to recognize or know that I possessed unless all these obstacles presented themselves. And so now all these obstacles, when I look at them as, okay, let's see what's happening after this. Cause these obstacles are not going to stop us, but they're going to be stepping stones for something. And sometimes, sometimes I don't even know what they are. And I don't care because it's going to be something great. I know that. And that's kind of like the same thing here, is that, if we could go back in time and show Frida just how, how much, how long, how far she's come by busting her ass and, um, realizing that, those dogs were ready. Her dogs were ready to meet. Her dogs were ready to come together as a pack. Her dogs been wanting to come together as a pack. She wasn't ready. So, you know, were the dogs the problem? Respond to me. Answer. You know exactly what I'm saying. The dogs weren't the problem. She had to be ready. She had to be prepared. Those dogs were ready all along. I knew it at some point. Like you could see, once we worked on a few things, that it was done, but she wasn't ready. So we had to just continue and plow and plow and plow and plow until bam, the wall came down and here we are. So, it's such a major accomplishment for me. And I feel so great that she achieved these goals. And this is why I do this for a living. This is why I love doing this, and this is why I love doing it the way that we do it, which is focusing on giving people inspiration, motivation, dog knowledge, and that's really what it boils down to. So yeah, it's a great thing. So Frida, congratulations. I'm proud of you. You did great. And keep it up. Don't go back to that old way of being, doubtful and scareful, and then scareful and fearful, and plow through. Take these lessons and apply them in life. Share these lessons with other people who are in your same position, maybe not even dog related, but share that knowledge, share that experience, because people can benefit from that. And I'm proud of you. So keep up the great work. Rocco, Bo, you guys are awesome as well. So anyway, guys, listen, if you guys have any questions, if you have any comments, I would love to hear them. Write them down in the comments. Hit me up. Let me know what you want to know, like what you feel, what you think. And hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Barking for Balance. And I will catch you guys next time. I am Pat the Packman. Guys, see you later, guys.